Hello, friends, fellow Canadians. I'm Christopher M. Michaud. Welcome to the podcast. This is The Canadianist. Today's episode is part of our Canada Today series. Over the last little while, I've been mixing in a few standalone topics throughout the week, but this one returns us to the core of what we're doing in the series. We're laying out clearly and calmly who we are as a nation, what our strengths actually are, and what Canada looks like today, not just in rhetoric, but in reality. Today's focus is strategic geography and global access. I know that sounds like a mouthful. Stay with me, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. In the last episode, we talked about the idea that Canada may be a superpower in waiting. We discussed our resource superpower status, our energy reserves, our critical minerals, our agricultural capacity, and the sheer diversity of what we possess under our soil and across our landscape. That was about what we have. Today is about where we are. And where we are might be just as important as what we have. Canada is one of the very few countries in the world with access to three oceans, the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Arctic. That is not a poetic line. That is a strategic fact. To the east, the Atlantic connects us directly to Europe and the broader Atlantic world. To the west, the Pacific places us at the doorstep of Asia, the most economically dynamic region on the planet. And to the north, the Arctic, long seen as remote and frozen, is rapidly becoming one of the most discussed geopolitical regions in the world. Most countries are lucky if they have one major maritime gateway. We have three. That matters. As Arctic ice coverage declines and navigation seasons extend, global shipping routes are being reconsidered. The Northwest Passage, which runs through Canada's Arctic archipelago, has the potential to significantly shorten the distance between Asia and Europe compared to traditional routes like the Suez Canal. That is not science fiction. That is already being studied and in some cases tested. Now, before anyone accuses me of ignoring environmental realities, let me be clear. The Arctic is fragile. It must be protected. Any development, any shipping, any infrastructure has to be approached with serious environmental safeguards and in full partnership with indigenous communities who live there and govern there. But acknowledging environmental responsibility does not mean ignoring strategic reality. The Arctic is becoming central to global shipping, security discussions, and resource access. Russia understands that. China calls itself a near-Arctic state. The United States is increasing its Arctic posture. The question is whether Canada is prepared to fully act like an Arctic nation. Strategic geography is not just about ships. It's about leverage. When Europe looks for stable energy partners, geography matters. When Asia looks for reliable agricultural exports, geography matters. When global powers assess security in the high north, geography matters. We are not on the sidelines of this conversation. We are at the center of it. But here's the key point. Geography only becomes power if you build around it. That means ports on the Atlantic and Pacific that are world-class and competitive. That means modern rail and logistics networks that move goods efficiently from the prairies to tidewater. That means icebreakers, Coast Guard capacity, northern infrastructure, broadband access, housing, and economic opportunity in Arctic communities. Sovereignty is not declared on a map. It is exercised on the ground. If our northern communities are thriving, if our presence is visible and functional, our sovereignty is real. If the North remains an afterthought, then our claims are weakened. Not legally, perhaps, but practically. This is also about diversification. For decades, our economy has been deeply integrated with the United States, and that partnership is vital. But a country with three ocean access points should never behave like it only has one trading partner. Atlantic Canada can be more than a coastline. The Pacific Gateway can be more than a regional hub. The Arctic can be more than a symbol. When you combine resource superpower status with strategic geography, something interesting happens. We become indispensable. Energy, food, minerals, fresh water, and three maritime gateways connecting us to the world's major economic centers. Add to that a stable political system and rule of law, and you begin to see why I keep suggesting that Canada may be underestimating itself. This series is not about hype, it's about clarity. If we understand our geography properly, we begin making different decisions. We invest differently. We negotiate differently. We think differently about defense, trade, immigration, infrastructure, and long-term planning. We stop acting like a middle power by habit, and we start acting like a country that understands its structural advantages. 3 oceans. That is not scenery, that is strategy. And in a century where supply chains are shifting, where climate is reshaping trade routes, and where global competition is intensifying, Canada's map is not just a backdrop, it's an asset. Next time you look at a globe, don't just see empty space above us. See corridors, see connections, see leverage, because where we are may be just as powerful as what we have. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. I'm Christopher M. Michaud. I'm a Canadianist. And if this resonates with you, I invite you to continue the conversation at thecanadianist.news. And to find out more about the United Canadian Centrists and our vision for Canada's future, visit uccparty.ca. See you next time.